Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you all. I thank the Middle community for organizing this event and for inviting me, and it's a great privilege and an honor to share a few of my thoughts, which I can no longer read because of the contrast of the light here on the blue paper. So I'm just going to repeat what my illustrious friends have just said. You can doze off if you like. I'll start with a story. At the height of my Islamic career in the 90s, I was the Imam of our Birmingham community and very particular about Islamic law. It was the month of Ramadan, and I was rushing to get to the mosque on time to lead the congregation in prayers and then to break fast with them. But on the way I had to drop off some iftari to an old woman. I went and gave her food, and I came out and sat in the car, drove to the corner of the road, and I saw a man fallen to the ground. Now obviously I looked and I realized that he's probably drunk and consumed too much alcohol and has fallen. And I thought, maybe he deserves to be there. Actually, I didn't think that, but maybe I want to just emphasize the point, so I will say that something inside me might have said, my prayer is more important. And if I go out and assist him, I'll be late. In any case, I could not allow myself to go. With a very heavy heart, and begrudgingly I went to the man, because I realized that that's a duty incumbent and God would want me to do that. I saw that he was bleeding and there was a small pool of blood around him. I got concerned. So I picked him up, managed to get him upon his feet, and he was reeking of alcohol and blood pouring out of his nose. Now, for a young Muslim scholar, the two most abominable substances on the face of this earth are alcohol and blood. And I thought, what great test of God is this? So I stood him straight and I said, okay, I'm going now. And as soon as I turned, I saw he was going to fall again. So I grabbed him, and by this time now, the blood was all over me. And I was wearing white garments. I thought, I can't leave him here. So I opened the door of the car and set him in the car. And I thought, I'll take him to his residence. All the while there was a struggle inside me. That look, he's drunk, there's blood all over me, I have to get to the mosque, I'll be late, and even if I get there, I'll have to wash my garments. In any case, I put all of that to side, it was all going on in me, and I asked him for his address. I don't know if you ever tried to do that, ask a drunkard man where he lives. We went all over Birmingham, and finally arrived at his residence. So I got him out of the car, took him to his door, and then as I was going, thanking God that I'm rid of this great calamity, this bala, he turned to me and he said, "Are you Jesus?" That's when I paused and I thought to myself that yes, people would expect such acts from Jesus. Jesus would see this as a part of his religion, not a compromise. Jesus would do these things willingly. He would not do them begrudgingly. And no matter how despicable the state of a person may be, they will still have that confidence in Jesus, that no matter how much we descend from the levels of humanity, there is one hand that will always be stretched out to lift us up again, and that is Jesus. That's when I realized that Jesus is the essential language of the soul, and that every one of us shares that same essence, and his teachings resonate with all of us beyond our distinctions and differences. You see, we are not these bodies. These bodies are the property of this world. We come from somewhere where there weren't any bodies. We are not these genders. We are not these statuses. We are not our ethnicities. These are garments that we are wearing. And similarly, our religions are not things that define us within. Religions are like our garments. We take a garment off and we put another one on. From Muslim to a Christian, from Christian to a Jew, from a believer to a disbeliever. We are loftier than all of these things. And I will quote Rumi, as my dear, very learned friend and brother quoted Rumi. He said, "O you who marvel at the luminous sun in the depths of the sky, acquire your own luminosity, for the brilliance of your light is so intense that if placed within the heaven, the sun shall disappear and shall appear like a distantly flickering little star. That is how brilliant you are, O man, if only you realize your true worth." Why does the language of Jesus resonate with us? Because we are all from that same origin. The question is never to go and meet with God. A God confined to the Kaaba is a God unworthy of worship. A God seated on a throne is a God less than the beloved author. Even paradise is less than where we belong. It's not a question of meeting with God. Jesus teaches it is a question of allowing God to emerge through us. There's a beautiful truth that has been veiled within our bodily existence. What tears us apart today? Ask yourselves. Islam and Christianity tears us apart. How amazing when both of them were languages of God, given to us to communicate with God. We have made the methods that God stipulated for us into means of division. Isn't that interesting? What separates us are these arbitrary identities of ours. What brings us together is the truth within us. So Jesus speaks that essential language. Now, why should the Muslims say, how important is Jesus for us? It's a non-starter. Be he Jesus or Guru Nanak or the Buddha. These are all specks of light of the same truth that we are all from. Call it the light of God or call it the light of humanity. It's one and the same. The Quran makes this very clear. The Prophet comes to Medina and he says to the multi-faith community, believers are those who bring faith in everything revealed unto us and everything revealed before us. There is a binding commitment that a Muslim gives by becoming a Muslim, that we do not believe in Islam in the narrow sense. We believe in the teachings of God in the broadest sense. From the beginning till the end, it's the same story. Fashioned differently, phrased differently, but the truth is the same. Tell me today, aren't we naturally speaking the same language, whether we belong to religion or otherwise? Do we not sit and discuss inalienable human rights? Do we not say poverty is a sickness within humanity and needs to be confined to the archives of history? Do we not say today that every individual ought to have freedom? Do we not say today every individual ought to enjoy security and a minimum level of education? They should have a roof over their heads. Do we not speak in that same language? Whether we are from religious persuasions or otherwise, isn't this the light of God shining through us? Have we not arrived at that pedestal of glorious existence within humanity, where now we say we are no longer satisfied with wealth? We need to have a deeper meaning of existence. Isn't that wonderful spirituality taking birth from within the folds of humanity itself? Isn't this the talking God within us, showing himself outwardly? Wasn't this the message of God through Jesus? So as a Muslim, as opposed to saying this is what Christianity states and this is what Islam states, as opposed to saying that, we need to say it differently. This is what God taught through Abraham. This is what God has taught us through Moses. This is what God has taught us through Jesus. And this is what God has taught us through the Blessed Prophet Muhammad. It's the same story. Different aspects of it have been delivered at different times. So when we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, isn't this the depiction of Jesus in his entirety? See, the Prophet never contended with Jesus. There was no competition. The Quran says, and those prophets, we do not distinguish between any of them. And the Quran says, and those prophets, we distinguish some over others. But he does not say we gave preference to one over another. We distinguish them through their different roles. Idris we raised to the heavens. Moses we spoke with. Jesus we assisted with the Holy Spirit. These are the distinctions. The distinctions between the prophets were arbitrary distinctions. Their essence was one and the same. Now how wonderfully the Quran talks of Jesus. Mary is told, pray, for God has chosen you. And then Mary is told, the mother of Mary prays. When she realizes that she is carrying a child, she prays to God and says, oh God, I give my child in service to you. In other words, that after the birth of the child will be given over to the place of worship to be devoted to God. When she delivered Mary, she said, oh Lord, it is a girl. And God knows the difference between a boy and a girl, came the response. She said, oh Lord, I beseech you to keep her and her offspring safe from the touch of the devil. The Blessed Prophet said, each soul has been touched by the devil. Only Jesus and Mary were spared from the touch of the devil. The Quran says, O Mary, God will give you His word. In another place, God says His name will be the Messiah. In another place, God says He is the soul, the spirit. These are the ways in which Jesus has been described. Within the folds of humanity, there has been amongst us a person who has been untarnished with our physicality, with the demon or the devil that is accompanied with this bodily existence. And that has been Jesus. And He is a pride of our humanity. Imam Ali describes Him in Nahj al-Balagha, and he says, if you wish, I shall talk to you about the Spirit of God. How divorced from the world He was. He, for His servant, took His 2 hands. For His steed, He took His 2 legs. For His bed, the cold earth. For His pillow, the hard rock. For His covering, the darkness of the night. He did not marry, lest He be distracted from God. That was Jesus, fully actualized in His essence. The fact that He speaks inside His cradle showed that He was spared the whole process
of actualizing knowledge in a bodily manner. What a wonderful gift of God He was to us, one of us and our essence. So we take pride in Jesus and we turn to Jesus for the essential godly teachings that He imparts, and through Him to actualize the light of God that was actualized in Him within ourselves. Oh, there's a lot more to be said, and I hope my time is up because I don't know what else to say. I don't want to finish on these sort of notes. But in truth, it appears that God has not created us and sent us here as we naively believe. That would make God very unkind. If the parental love of a mother cannot withstand that she sees her children suffering, then the parental love of a mother is but a glimpse of the all-embracing love of her author, God, the parent of all parents. Do you think a responsible parent would be creating 8 billion people in this place? It's a hellhole in this world. That's not the case. God is beyond this. The creator of trillions of galaxies does not need little people fighting over His name. If God was a human, He would be laughing at us. He would ask Jibreel, what are they doing? He said, well, the Christians and the Muslims are still fighting as to call you Jehovah or Allah. And He would just say, why don't you just flick them out of this whole cosmos? They're not worth it. God is not this. You see, we have had previous existence prior to this life, and the Quran is categorically clear about it. We have chosen to come here to learn how to be godly creatures. And this is what Jesus shows us. When somebody offends you, the one that is getting angry, the one that becomes enraged, is the bodily person. Turn to the godly side and forgive. Reclaim that godliness. When you see wealth, you want to hoard. That is not you. That is your embodied state. That is insecure. You're worried about tomorrow. Give it away. Liberate yourself. Actualize your godliness. When you can have comfort, that is the need of your body. The soul is in anguish. Give away your comfort to others. Relieve the soul of its anguish and reclaim your godliness. Now, Dr. Shafraz shared the parable of Jesus outside, and I want to finish on that point. And he said, Jesus saw a man stealing. And the man said, no, I did not steal. Jesus said, my eyes have lied to me. How wonderful. Muhammad Rasulullah said this. And he is obviously learning from Jesus. And do not be offended, for Jesus is his brother. Okay? He said, if you see somebody stealing, and they say they haven't stolen, then turn to your eyes and say, oh eyes, you are lying to me, for he can never lie. That is the level of godliness we are to attain within ourselves, but that's not the end of the story. God says, I have created you from one soul. The 8 billion people that we see in this world are different by bodies, but same in the soul. It's one reality. And I think what Jesus and the Blessed Prophet Muhammad and Abraham were doing were awakening us to that reality of ours, that humanity as a whole becomes a spirited truth and returns to its original state of godliness. And if that's the case, then hell and heaven are mere stations in the whole process of us getting back to our glorious state. Neither is hell eternal, nor is paradise unbefitting abode for the lights of God. I shall finish there. Thank you all very much.